Good morning. It's April 24th. I'm Diane Sare, president of the LaRouche organization, doing the Harley Schlanger morning update. So we will be talking about today the talks in London that did not occur between Ukrainians, Americans, British, French, etc. They were severely downgraded. Breaking new developments where we could get finally to the bottom of what happened on September 11th with a new investigation and other important developments. So first, the London talks were downgraded after Zelensky, first of all, decided not to show up. Then our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, announced that due to logistical challenges, he would not be appearing. Steve Witkoff is planning to go to Moscow later in the week. So it ended up being a much downgraded meeting between merely the Ukrainian foreign minister and the British foreign minister, Lammy. Trump had some choice words to say. Also, it was reported that Trump denounced Zelensky for wanting to merely negotiate things through the press. But let me show you what Trump posted on Truth Social regarding this situation. He writes, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is boasting on the front page of the Wall Street Journal that, quote, Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about here, unquote. This statement is very harmful to the peace negotiations with Russia, in that Crimea was lost years ago under the auspices of President Barack Hussein Obama and is not even a point of discussion. Nobody is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory. But if he wants Crimea, why didn't they fight for it 11 years ago when it was handed over to Russia without a shot being fired? Now, there's more that could be said. It was a referendum, but never mind, because the majority of people in Crimea consider themselves Russian, and they didn't want to join a pro-Nazi, anti-Russian dictatorship in Ukraine. That's me speaking. Trump goes on to write, it's inflammatory statements like Zelensky's that make it so difficult to settle this war. He has nothing to boast about. The situation for Ukraine is dire. He can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country. That is accurate. I have nothing to do with Russia, but I have much to do with wanting to save on average 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers a week who are dying for no reason whatsoever. The statement made by Zelensky today will do nothing but prolong the killing field, and nobody wants that. We are very close to a deal, but the man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. I look forward to being able to help Ukraine and Russia get out of this complete and total mess that never would have started if I were president. So that from President Donald Trump. And now actually we will go to more of an intervention demonstrating just the insanity of Europe and some of the traitors in the US who are colluding with them. Some of you may remember that under the Biden administration, we were going to have this Office of Mis, Dis, and Malinformation run by this wild Mary Poppins, Nina Yankovic. Well, she is now appearing in the European Union to denounce Trump and the United States. I'm not really sure why she's allowed to do this, but let's go to that.
Their executives, some of the richest men in the world, have aligned and ingratiated themselves with some Western leaders, including the US president, not for the good of representative democracy, but for their personal enrichment. Anti-democratic regimes in Russia, China, Iran, and elsewhere are taking advantage of this environment, launching interference campaigns that aim to undermine the democratic process with little pushback. And homegrown anti-democratic forces have launched a coordinated campaign to undermine researchers, journalists, advocates, and civil servants who work to expose their lies. The confluence of these forces has hobbled some democracies' responses to the strategic threat that we are here to discuss today, Russian hybrid threats. Just last week in the United States.
Okay, so for this crazy woman, what we are dealing with is Russian hybrid threats. What is she talking about? The biggest threat right now is the British Empire and the meltdown of the transatlantic financial system. Of interest in other peace talks, Iran, which we're holding indirect talks. Hopefully soon they will become direct talks. The foreign minister, Aragchi, made an absolutely brilliant proposal, which I hope the Trump administration will take them up on, which is that the United States work with Iran to develop nuclear power plants in that nation. Their nuclear program was actually begun under Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace. I think that would be a real win-win for the United States to develop and build nuclear power plants in Iran together with Iran. I think people should be able to see why that would solve a lot of problems, including alleged Israeli security concerns. Now, what I wanted to go to is something that I think personally is extremely important, which is this. Earlier, or actually it was April 14th, so it's been 10 days ago now, Tucker Carlson interviewed former Pennsylvania Congressman Curt Weldon on 9/11. Curt Weldon dropped one bombshell after the next, not the least of which being that there was a group, a special operations unit and coordinating with the Defense Intelligence Agency called Operation Able Danger. They, according to Weldon, had located every single al-Qaeda cell in the world, including in New York, prior to 9/11. In fact, nearly a full year prior. They had names of many people, including Mohammed Atta, one of the hijackers, and they tried on 3 separate occasions to give this intelligence, which they said indicated a major terror attack was being planned, to the FBI and the Department of Justice, and they were rebuffed 3 times. He also does speak about Building 7, the overwhelming evidence that this was a controlled demolition, and that the firefighters, of which Congressman Weldon was one, he was the chief in a small town in Pennsylvania, and he was very close friends with Chief Ray Downey, one of the leading New York firefighters who died on September 11th, who had been working with Congressman Weldon since the World Trade Center bombing of 93 to overcome peculiar discrepancies between intelligence agencies where they would not share data, which becomes very problematic if you're trying to thwart a terror attack. And that was the other thing that Weldon revealed, that he had held a meeting in his office in 1999 trying to set up a fusion intelligence sharing center at Fort Belvoir in Virginia. And he had the deputy director of the FBI together with the deputy director of the CIA and himself, vice chair of the Homeland Security Committee and the Armed Services Committees. In discussion about this, the FBI was enthusiastic, he said, and the CIA said flat out, absolutely not. We are not going to coordinate. We're not going to share data. So again, it seems very clear that 9/11, the best you can say, was allowed to occur. Tucker Carlson pressed for motives. Weldon wisely said he was not going to speculate, but given the evidence now coming out, the fact that Philip Zelikow, who was the chair of the original 9/11 investigation, was running a massive cover-up, means there should be a full new investigation. I want to share with you something written by Lyndon LaRouche in 2001 on the 14th of September, just a few days after that, it was a short leaflet called "Don't Shoot the Neighbor's Cat." And what LaRouche says is the following. This is 3 days after 9/11. Quote, frankly, the 24-hour brainwashing network CNN has gone over the edge. The terror bombing and mass killing have pushed CNN and many others into the state of mind of the man who, returning home to find his house has been robbed, takes out a shotgun and obliterates the neighbor's cat. Indeed, if his wife had said, Henry, it's just the neighbor's cat, the maddened fellow would have threatened her, don't get in my way or I might have to kill you too. The United States has been surprised by a mass murderous attack from rogue forces deployed from within the United States itself. Since no foreign power has the ability to do to us what was done this past Tuesday, i.e. 9/11, some rogue element operating within our military security establishment is the only possible principal author of what has just occurred. That mass murderous rogue is the burglar who is presently lurking from within the USA, preparing for his next strike, which he certainly intends to deliver soon. And so that was Lyndon LaRouche's point, which is that if we did not address the actual cause, the actual perpetrators of 9/11, then it would happen again. And certainly millions of people worldwide have died, including tens of thousands of American soldiers who would not have died had we bothered to get to the bottom of that. And I mean the 5,500 who died in Iraq in combat, 2,500 in Afghanistan, and thousands who have committed suicide because of being misdeployed and abused by our government since 9/11. Now, the last thing I want to report on, speaking of democratic states like Ukraine and Israel, is that in the wake of the death of Pope Francis, who was an outspoken advocate for peace and who insisted, despite doctors urging that he not appear for Easter, on speaking of the plight of the Palestinian people as well as the Israelis before in his last homily. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has ordered all condolences on the death of Pope Francis to be erased from their official sites. And the report is the Foreign Ministry of Israel yesterday had posted on its official X account a short statement expressing sorrow over the death of Pope Francis. Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May his memory be a blessing. But within hours, it was taken down, and diplomatic missions around the world were ordered to take down any similar posts and not to sign condolence books in Vatican embassies. So there you have it. It's clear who is for peace, who is against peace. And I would like to urge everybody, please, to visit the schillerinstitute.com website, register for the conference in the greater New York City metropolitan area on Memorial Day weekend. Plan on joining us.